In a small, quiet town, as the first rays of sunlight touched the earth, a humble janitor named John woke up. A single dad and a veteran, his life was a quiet rhythm of hard work and sacrifice. This morning was different. He carefully took out an old, neatly pressed uniform shirt. Looking in the mirror, he saw a man whose face was etched with exhaustion but whose eyes held a deep, unwavering pride. On his small table sat a framed photo of him and his young son, next to a graduation invitation. He picked it up, pressing it gently against his heart, and whispered to himself, "I can't miss this day." With a deep breath, he stepped out of his modest home. His old boots, worn from years of service and labor, echoed with memories of a past life in the military. He boarded the bus, carrying a small, carefully wrapped gift. The driver greeted him with a warm smile, a familiar face in his daily routine. Other passengers, lost in their own worlds, barely noticed the quiet janitor sitting alone. As the bus rumbled on, his mind drifted back to his time in the service. Images of chaos, camaraderie, and a specific moment of saving his fellow soldiers flashed before his eyes. He instinctively adjusted his sleeve, making sure the faded military tattoo on his arm remained hidden. The bus finally arrived at the grand graduation venue. The air buzzed with excitement and the chatter of proud families. John stood outside for a moment, feeling a little overwhelmed by the noise and the crowd. The sound of his son's name, echoing in his mind, gave him the strength to move forward. He entered the hall slowly, sticking to the shadows along the wall. An old habit kicked in, and he wiped his dusty shoes on the mat. In his janitor's uniform, he blended in, looking more like a staff member than a guest. A few parents brushed past him without a second glance. He found an empty seat at the very back of the hall, his eyes scanning the sea of graduates, and then he saw him. His son, so handsome, so confident, standing tall among his peers. A proud, uncontrollable smile spread across John's face, and his heart swelled with an emotion so powerful it almost took his breath away. Just then, a distinguished Navy captain, dressed in full formal attire, made his entrance. The entire crowd rose to their feet in respect. John, feeling out of place, humbly lowered his head. As the captain walked down the aisle, something caught his eye. John had shifted slightly, and for a split second, his sleeve rode up, revealing a unique Navy rescue tattoo. The captain stopped dead in his tracks. His eyes widened with a jolt of recognition. He slowly turned back. "Excuse me, sir," he whispered, his voice trembling. John looked up, confused. "Where did you get that tattoo?" the captain asked, his gaze fixed on John's arm. John hesitated, taken aback by the sudden attention. "From my unit," he answered quietly. "Years ago." The captain's eyes filled with tears. His professional composure shattered. You saved my life," he choked out. John stared, completely stunned. The people sitting nearby turned to look, their curiosity piqued by the hushed, emotional exchange. Then, in a gesture that sent a ripple of shock through the hall, the Navy captain knelt beside the janitor. "I've searched for you for years," he said, his voice thick with emotion. The hall grew silent. Whispers spread like wildfire as parents stood up, craning their necks to see what was happening at the back. From the stage, John's son noticed the commotion. He saw a crowd gathering around a familiar figure and realized it was his father. Confused and worried, he hurried down from the stage. At that moment, the captain stood up and, facing John, delivered a crisp, perfect salute. "This man," he announced to the silent auditorium, "is a hero." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. John, overwhelmed and embarrassed, shrank back in his seat. He had only come to see his son graduate. He never wanted this kind of attention. His son finally reached them. "Dad, what's happening?" he asked, his eyes wide with confusion. The captain turned to the young man, his face beaming with pride. "Your father," he said, his voice ringing with honor, "saved our entire unit." Tears streamed down the son's face as he looked at his father, seeing him in a new, profound light. John, ever the humble soldier, tried to calm him. "I just did my duty," he mumbled. But his words were drowned out by a thunderous, spontaneous applause that erupted from the crowd. Teachers and faculty rushed over, their faces a mixture of shock and awe. Students gathered around, their phones instantly coming out to record the incredible scene. John looked deeply uncomfortable with the sudden fame, but his son gripped his hand tightly. "I'm so proud of you, Dad," he whispered, his voice full of love. The captain placed a reassuring hand on John's shoulder. "You deserve this recognition." The school principal, catching on to the gravity of the moment, personally invited John to the stage. He hesitated, but with a gentle nudge from his son, he agreed. The entire crowd rose to their feet again, this time for him as he walked to the stage, cameras flashing all around. He stood next to his son, his quiet pride now visible to all. The captain recounted the story of John's bravery, his voice filled with emotion that resonated throughout the auditorium. Many in the audience wiped tears from their eyes. In front of everyone, the son wrapped his father in a tight hug. John held him close and whispered, "I only wanted to see you shine today." After the story, the captain asked to take a photo with the man who had saved him. As they posed, a group of veterans in the audience stood and gave John a solemn salute. With humility, John saluted back. When his son's name was called to receive his diploma, he walked across the stage, turned to the microphone and dedicated the achievement to his father, the quiet hero. The crowd roared with cheers. John cried quietly, trying to hide his tears of joy. The captain then presented him with an honorary medal of valor. John's hands shook as he accepted it, and his son lovingly placed it around his neck, a symbol of a bond now strengthened by a shared powerful truth. After the ceremony, reporters swarmed him, but John politely declined any interviews. He was a simple man who preferred a simple life. The captain understood and respected his wishes, ensuring he had his space. As they left, families approached not for a story, but to simply thank him. Children waved at the quiet hero. Teachers offered him front row seats for future events, but he remained the same humble man. As they walked out of the hall, his son held his arm proudly. The captain followed them outside. "Please stay in touch," he requested, handing John his personal number. John nodded gratefully. His son hugged him again, tight. "Today was your day too, Dad." A teary-eyed smile was John's reply. Together, father and son walked toward the sunset. The dad still carrying the small, unopened gift for his son, and the son with his arm wrapped around his father's shoulder. True heroes often walk among us, quietly, without seeking recognition. Their greatest reward is the love of their family and the peace of a life lived with honor. If this story touched your heart, please like and share it to spread a little more kindness in the world. And don't forget to subscribe to Kindness Quest for more inspiring stories. Thank you.